Let's talk about Nightwing. So, going off of the collected volumes, which I actually realized, I think I jumped ahead a little bit. I was looking at it and 52 and then 54 through 60, but not 53, were collected back in 2005. And that was called On Razor's Edge. But then I realized I scrolled further down in my notes and they did collect more later on that they then put out. So we're still kind of following what they collected, but then it's going to stop because they do collect 61 through 70, and then the next one isn't collected until 140. Yeah. We're just going to start reading them and trying to figure out, maybe I can look up where story arcs fall one through the next. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about 52 through 60. Starting with number 52. I'm sorry, what? Batman does what now? This whole issue, I took some notes here. There's a wedding that's going on. Batman and what and all the what and what. Okay, so cut to the chase here of what happens. Yeah, she kills Batman. It's a dream. Yeah. So this whole thing was from the viewpoint of Selena. She's the voice that's reading, the narrator for all of this. She takes a vacation down to Bloodhaven to steal a diamond from a new casino that's opening up. Look who's there to stop her. It's Nightwing. We have a lot to get through. We're going to go through this one. Nightwing and Catwoman, they have a little moment. That's in here. Once we get through... Oh. Yeah, no, there's almost kissing because they're getting shot at. She's nuts. And then she bites him. And then they're finally getting through. She's like trash talking these thieves the entire time because she could do it better. Anyway, all this happens. Take them down, get the diamond. We get through. And then at the end... yeah, he just tosses the diamond over. Nightwing has it and then gives it up, and she's upset about that, does that. But then she goes, make sure you tell Batman about it. She was trying to make Batman jealous. That's the whole issue. That's the whole thing. Just a one-off thing, which I don't mind. There's a couple of them, but it's not exactly related to too much here. I don't remember if there's anything that comes up that they specifically then reference later on. Obviously, Batman doesn't die, so I would say that's a bit misleading, but I think that's kind of a trope that comics do for a while. We'd call that clickbait nowadays. I'm sure there's another term for it. But on to 53. This one is also very different. We've got, I specifically wrote down, I was like, wow, the art style is really different. And yeah, they've got, this is a different penciler than usual. And colorist, I think. But this is interesting. It's not really a one-off, but it is kind of a one-off in the fact that this was the one that wasn't collected. And there's a reason for that. It's because it's collected somewhere else. I don't know where. I didn't look for that, but I did write down that it's clearly a multi-series run. So you're trying to get all of the, they want you to buy multiple. At one point it mentions Catwoman 90, and then at the end it says it's concluded in Detective. The main point of all of this, it was interesting, to be sure. It was things that I didn't understand. It's a lot of Barbara and Nightwing, which, happens. Oracle, that's her other, I'm mixing and matching, apparently. This doll is cracking me up. This like Batgirl doll with the eyes. He's like using it to try to crack her. You see it here first, and then there's again, and then there's that, and she takes it away from him, and that's like her doll. Corn gone wrong. What? Okay, I'm sorry. I haven't seen that before. That's great. Anyway, they do a whole thing here. The main thing, I read through all of it. It was interesting. It's definitely different, but you really are just trying to piece together what's going on. And the whole thing is they're doing a lot to pick up on a gun that they had. They found a gun at the scene of a crime who shot her father, I think. Did I write that down? Yes. It was used to shoot her father. It's a drop gun. That was a term that they use, basically the police, when they need to frame someone or they need a gun that's clean. They have these drop guns. It's all corrupt. It's bad. So there's like, that's half of the whole this issue right here is like the two of them figuring out that part, and it goes all the way down. And then there's some more, there's a lot of ads. Then the other half of it is Batman and Alfred in the hospital with Gordon. And he's unconscious, and they have a moment there. This is actually really cool. He's basically, Alfred's given him this whole talking down to, and like getting to the crux of it and why he's actually there, why he's watching, what good that's actually going to do, and talking about Bruce's feelings essentially and making him more emotional, and then gets kicked out. So yeah, that was an interesting moment. I don't know. Sure. And then all of that, we go through. There's a sad bit there because he's literally standing there. He's watching. He's waiting for his friend to wake up, essentially, with whatever. Alfred just leaves, like more so than just like leave the room, but says leaving your employee. I'm sure that that's something that would be resolved in detective, whether or not he comes back. But then Batman leaves, and that's when Gordon wakes up, and no one's there. I'm like, well, that's Gordon got shot. That's all right. Well, all right. Okay. And then we wrap up the gun plot line here, which again, this gets resolved into Detective Comics number 754. And then, yeah, Gordon and his daughter are back with everything. But Nightwing takes the gun and gets it into the hands of a different police officer that hopefully is a good one. So the whole thing that I took away from that, I know almost nothing about what's going on in that story arc with Officer Down, except for a police officer shot Commissioner Gordon. And now 54 in the snow. Okay. So for just, I tell you here while we're doing this, this is like the only issue where I think it's snowing. I'm pretty sure when we're in the other ones, there's no snow mentioned anywhere else, but all of a sudden it's just like, oh, it's winter. And then it's not. just something to mention. Let's see. Now we're getting into it. This is the beginning. They collected this as well. And I think this is where, let's see. We do move along some storyline here. Yes. So he goes for a dip to save a kid because it's frozen over. And then he catches a cold because of it. That's pretty much what happens there. We move on. So that's why he's under the weather, is because he is now sneezing a lot because he went and fell into a frozen lake. Well, not fell into, he dove into a frozen lake to save a kid. Noble. And so he's sick because of that, because that was still a thing. I don't think you really see that in things anymore. Someone falls into a frozen lake and then they have a cold afterwards. I think we've moved on from that to realizing that a cold is a virus and not a physical. Anyway, regardless of any of that, he's sick and then still goes out and is sneezing all over his partner, Amy. Not partner, that's his SO, his superior officer, I think. Is that what it's called? Or whatever. Anyway. So there's that. We skipped over it a bit there, but I made a note that Redhorn was back because Blockbuster's essentially out of the picture, but not really. That was, that's kind of the main guy. None of them really get... We have a whole thing here with some spousal abuse that then doesn't want to do anything about it. And then, yeah, the police can't really do anything because she won't file a report. And so, this is... Clancy, remember her, the like landlady tenant of Nightwing Grayson? She gets real bad zapped doing some electrical work to the point where it, we'll see. She's not breathing and no heartbeat. Yeah, so that, by that logic, kills her. She just straight up dies. But that wasn't on the cover, was it? It didn't say Clancy dies this issue or anything. Sure. I'm not really in the center of the frame, am I? I haven't been looking. That's fine. Anyway, so we're here and she's down, which is not good. And then Nightwing takes matters into his own hands with what he's doing, and goes to see that spousal family of what was happening there, and threatens to basically destroy the guy if he ever touches his wife again or comes back at all. So he just takes off, and I guess they're better for it, so that's good. He got to go further than what the police do. It showed that a little bit. I made a note here. Yeah. Not Clancy. What? Amy is talking to her superior officer or somebody. I don't remember who. Oh, she's talking to a priest. And then goes in something. Okay, so we get a bit of this here. She goes to a cathedral, talks to somebody, and then they bring out his file, and they that would be Grayson's police file, his other alter ego from his already alter ego. He's getting picked for something in the police department. That's all we know at this point. And then he finds out about Clancy, and he feels bad because he should have been there. And then Blockbuster gathers all the usual suspects, is what I put. And yeah, you just get a ton of people there. And the introduction of Shrike. Now, I have no idea who that is. On to 55. Never heard of Shrike before. I suppose technically I've seen Shrike because I was buying these issues, so I would have seen Enter Shrike and Shrike on the cover of them, but I have no idea who this is. I don't know anything about it. So, they all fight, because of course they do. He's pretty cool. I don't know anything about him. He's, for some reason, has 3 different swords on his back, because I guess you want options or choices. But then he also has these canisters on his arms that you'll see he uses to punch and like beat people up, but they're just like tubes. And then inside the tubes, let's move forward to the point where he beats him up. He beats him up. We get a little bit of Soames. Oh yeah, Soames has been narrating throughout this. That's actually what, like, he and Tad are in prison. Remember that from last time? So there's that. They're planning their escape. And we cut to Grayson and Clancy. That's right. You do see Amygdala there. He talks about that. He's upset. And then they won't let him in. Sure. Jump back to Shrike beating people up. We still haven't seen, I thought by now it would have happened. Anyway, in his canisters, those arm tubes there are blades. Lady Vic. Yes, that's going on. She's alive. And you think, wait, where's that? There's that moment there where it's like, oh yeah, okay. Darkness, then coming back to light, then somebody's kissing her or giving her mouth to mouth. And I thought, and I'm sure that was kind of designed that way to be like, oh, it's Grayson. No, it's a paramedic. It's a handsome paramedic who's taking care of that. And so she's, maybe she's going to stop chasing Grayson so much in the future. We'll find out. Let's see. What else did I make a note of here? It was not Nightwing giving mouth to mouth. Shriek? No, I feel like Shriek would have an E in it. Shrike. He's dispatching Blockbuster's goons one by one. They're just tearing through things. His car. Blockbuster's got a nice car that just got destroyed. Anyway, Nightwing goes to pay a visit to Babs, a social visit. That happens. Shrike almost gets done in by Lady Vic. Oh yeah, that's right. He goes over and is all like, he's happy and wants to do some kissing stuff because he watched Clancy not die. So there's that. And then we end out with Shrike knowing, like, here was something that caught me up, and I went, wait, okay, so he comes out on top. Obviously, he's the new guy that Blockbuster brought in, beat up everybody else to prove that he was worth this contract thing that he's doing. He's going to take down Nightwing. He says he wants a future without Nightwing. He's paying $5 million to kill Nightwing. Blah blah blah. And Shrike almost. It seemed like but if it's the guy I think it is, I'd almost do him for free. Almost. What am I missing here? 56. I'll find out. We'll see. So, Shrike, Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin. Someone's narrating over Batman and Robin and talking about it. Okay. So Shrike has had some history with this. I didn't know about it at all. I had no idea. But that's a thing that happened. He clearly knew him as Robin. We'll get to more of that later. It gets revealed. We'll talk about it with but I imagine some people probably already knew it, but maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, he has a whole thing for really trying to murder Robin. And then there's a shower scene. Whoa now. That would be Black Canary, Dina, just walking in on Grayson in the shower. He was staying over. Remember last time where he went to see Barbara? He stayed over, but nothing happened, she says. There's a lot of like their girlfriends and they're teasing and they're doing a whole thing there, but she doesn't know who he is. That was the whole like, I don't know how much of this I can show. He's covering both his face and other areas. And he said I almost gave away 2 secrets. I get one of them. Is the other one another secret? Is that something you... Anyway, moving on. So that's the thing. She doesn't know who he is. She knows Nightwing, but she doesn't know the secret identity, which, to be fair, that makes sense. But I guess she does know Barbara's. I don't know. There's a whole thing. Because, yeah, she calls her Babs. And she calls her Dina. So, yeah, they know each other. I don't know all the details of this. It's intricate. But let's see. We find out, okay, so he goes through, oh, that's right. He leaves in his car and then other people see him just like driving down the road. And so he has to opaque the glass. It's just like a feature he has. Look, Pokemon Stadium. So, really, they put the red Gyarados right on the front, huh? That's neat. I guess this would have been around the time. Oh, it's Stadium 2. I never played any of those. This has nothing, this is not a Pokemon thing. This is about Nightwing. The next note I clearly made had to do with, oh yeah, that's right. He talks about Amygdala and what, okay, so I guess Amygdala and Batman had a thing at some point. I should probably describe that as something better. They fought at some point. And then he talks about how Amygdala, who is Nightwing's neighbor, gets like an implant that makes him good again. And he's a prison guard. We found out about that at some point. I don't remember if it was in this arc or a previous one. And it was talked about, and you saw him in his prisoner uniform when he was all upset about Clancy when he came back from work. So he works at the prison where Tad and Soames, Torque are held. And they're planning to escape. Sure. And then Grayson goes back to being a cop. We get a bit of that. I only made 2 more notes here about things that happen. There's a whole workout scene, and then they're teasing each other, like I said, about how Barbara's in love with Nightwing. Nightwing falls right. Okay, so Nightwing goes through. He's on the main street, I guess, where a lot of stuff is happening. He sees fighting going on. He goes after the fighting. He just thinks that he's taken down some regular old goons, but he falls right into a trap, quite literally. Well, not falls, but he gets hit up into, or he gets netted by Shrike with hooks. It's like a fishing net that also has hooks that apparently he sets up his special so that the more he squirms, the more it like cuts into him. So that's not good. He's captured by the end of that. 57. Moving on through. Nightwing shows his progression. Robin into Nightwing. And even they had a temporary outfit he wore a little bit. Actually, no, he wore that for a bit more. He wore that just a little bit in the Nightwing issues, but now I'm remembering back from when I started doing this. Gosh, was that like a year ago? He wore that in Not Justice League. The Super Friends. No. The, what was it? The Teen Titans. There we go. Anyway, he's all chained up, but they left his pants on. Can't give away that secret. Anyway, they do finally, in Robin Year 1, number 4, Michael made that note. Not me, but Michael Wright, I guess, was the editor. Sure. We still have Chuck Dixon as the writer. I think he's been doing that the entire time, although there may have been 1 or 2 off issues where they let somebody else step in, but he's still been writing for everything. It's the artists who have changed over the, like, this makes sense. Hold on. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but just, this is a perfect example. Look at his face right there. That's what, when I think Nightwing, and from this era, that's Nightwing. Where was it in here? When I think Nightwing, I'm not really thinking Nightwing. Just this face structure there, or here. Had somebody else totally different come in for a later, we'll talk about it. Or, well, you'll see. It doesn't matter. Anyway, they just look different. So that's apparently where Shrike would have come in, right? But he says, you're supposed to be Shrike. And I saw Shrike die a long time ago. And that would be when he saw that happen. So now I'm getting a little bit more, I'm in understanding. That's why he knows Batman and Robin, the whole thing there. But apparently his name is Boone. Remember me? And he calls him Freddy. Those are all things that happen. He continues calling him Freddy, and he fingerprinted him because he, captured him. Not good. Fingerprints. What do you think he's going to do with that? They go through. Oh, that's right. They must have talked about the letter. Oh, when they were doing the gym scene, when they were working out, Barbara wrote a love note to Nightwing and put it in his boot, in his glove, put it in something, and there's all that there, and just signed it B, and so they start making fun of him. But let's see. There's, they fingerprinted him, but what happens here, they go through, there's an alarm. Okay, so they get zapped because of something that he had in his suit that they started messing around with without knowing. That gets him the ability to start moving around, so he starts like getting himself up on top of things. But then there's an alarm that's going off. Barbara and Dina were having a sleepover. They're in the system. I just made a note that the Bat Crew was deep in the police system. So somewhere in here, what happens is essentially they run his fingerprints and they're able to go through. Yeah, they basically control it so that they can not only give him a fake identity, which is what they do for the fingerprints that they actually scan, but they apparently can control the loading time. And so he's running a search and they're on the other end of it somehow, the way this works, controlling the loading time to just make it take a really, really long time, during which they're obviously running a trace to figure out where he is. What is damn Curtains 2000? Is Curtains 2000, is that, oh, I just got it. I literally made a note in here being like, I don't understand. Is that an internet thing? I just got Windows. It's a version of Windows. It's the Windows hate has started early. It's all the way back. Speaking of, okay, it has nothing to do with anything, but I just realized it. Okay, so we were in 2001. So they're making fun of like Windows 2000 or whatever that version was. It would have been before XP 98. Did they do a 2000? Windows 2000? Anyway, Curtains though. Now I get it. It's an OS reference. I see. Also, just as a side note, that has nothing to do with anything with what we're talking about here, but in previous episodes of me recapping and talking about Nightwing and finally getting to read comics and finding where my camera is to actually look at the right lens, I talked about how it was strange to see a whole plot line revolving around neo-Nazis in the 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s, because I didn't think that's just a thing. I found out more. I actually researched and Googled like what was going on and that there was another uprising movement of idiocy. And I found out about that after starting watching The West Wing, which was airing right around the same time as this. And I'm a couple seasons into that now and really enjoying it. And that's a whole plot line that they have, is stupid neo-Nazis doing stuff. So yeah, that makes sense. It was a thing that was going on. And yeah. Anyway, I learned. I was too young to know about that stuff at that point. I had no idea when I was 9 to 10 years old. Surprise. Anyway, where did we get to here? my last note, they were in the, okay, so they're headed out. Yeah, they're going, they've traced it, but not exactly. They've got almost anything. Oh yeah, you could track Batman. Like he'd ever let that happen. Yeah, right. So help is on the way. Nightwing escapes. He's able to get out of the chains that they had and starts beating the guys up, and then uses one of their sword attacks to then further chop the chains so he can basically take them down. He gets the new identity. This guy, Nightwing, his name is Chester Honeywell. And he continues to rag on that name for a while. There's Tad planning more escape stuff. They show up, but then they found out that they took the tracker off Nightwing and just dropped it. But they dropped it right outside the building. Like, didn't even throw it in the water or anything, but they just like, whatever. Clearly they're not the smartest. Anyway, Shrike, see, he's got blades in his like arm things. I talked about that at some point. We definitely showed it. I'm just skipping around a bit. There's a showdown. What a surprise. And I misunderstood what was happening here. I did go, oh, wait, who's that? Because I just saw another blade and I assumed this was like a special person that he's turning around to look at. Like he's now surrounded by goons and there's, double trouble. I think my note actually was, who's that Pokemon? Because I'm funny. 58. On the razor's edge. So he has a spike in one and a blade in the other. I feel like they almost interchange between which ones I see in which positions. Dun dun dun. What did I just say? 58. Yes. Scroll down to my notes there. So now we finally get a bit of Nightwing. Look at that. That's a cool double page. If I keep it on camera. We get a bit of a recap here, finally, of what's going on with somewhere in here. I don't know. I read through it yesterday. Anyway, a recap on the backstory. Boone met Robin and blames him for the death of the previous Shrike, who then Boone takes up the mantle and now wants revenge. That's the whole thing there. Story as old as time, maybe. Anyway, Nightwing's gonna, get not quite coming out on top here. They're fighting. Yep, no, blood being drawn. Payback for betraying the sensei. Canary. She saves the day. Which is good, because Nightwing was a little outnumbered. Meanwhile, the prison escape is going on. And then we jump back. That's going on. They're taking down Shrike together. That was cool fighting stuff. Oh, look, Magic the Gathering. Interesting. I wasn't collecting cards at that point. Once again, just getting, oh, look, SpongeBob. Oh. Anyway, that's right. He grabs her with the chains. There's a whole chain fight here, and then throws the chains into the gears of the spinning machinery, which then starts choking her and dragging her into it. So now he's got to choose between that and saving them. And then the goons roll up, or they keep calling them mooks, I think. They roll up on Barbara, who's got her, special see in the dark. Call her a cripple. She lasers all of them, or she tasers all of them. Makes a crack about it. Continues on. Let's see. The prison escape has turned to drugs at this point. Where did I find that? That must have been previous. Anyway, that was the whole, I don't know, he seems to say, Soames seems to be thinking that Dudley was faking it. Wait, no, that was the wrong name. Dudley is Soames. Dudley Soames. Where was that? This is what happens when you skip around. But because we have 8 issues to go through, there's quite a bit. Oh, no, wait. That part hasn't happened yet. No, wait. Did it happen? I don't know. Basically, I think that was the one before. It's after the stuff starts happening. I think they dose him. I think I'm talking about Tad here. Soames and Tad's prison escape. They drug him, so he goes to the infirmary, which is where, that must have happened the last issue, and I skipped over it. Soames then finds a book and starts asking about a particular drug from this guy, Chili. And what he wants. And Chili's a drug runner who can get him pretty much anything inside the prison, so he's going to get that. And it's an extremely powerful antihistamine. That's what I know so far about this prison escape. It has turned into allergy medicine. But there's basically nonstop action, which is why there isn't too much in my notes or anything to talk about here. Is that it's just that you can't really summarize. It's really cool to look at, and the fight scenes are awesome. Obviously, they get away. There's a full 2-page spread of Nightwing almost going to the dark side. He almost kills him, but he doesn't. It gets close. And then the end. And that's where usually, I did notice that usually the introduction with the title of the issue is at the beginning of the issue. We did not have that this time. That was at the very, very end. You didn't get the credit. It was basically credits. Almost done. 59. 59. Oh, 59 is all about, okay, that's right. Where's Freddie Min? You might remember, if you're aware. I didn't. I saw this and I forgot entirely. Freddie Min, what was going on there? Min? I don't know. I saw the Mandarin. I looked at that. I was looking at all of this, reading this 2-page spread, which was interesting. And I looked at it and I went, wait, Mandarin, isn't that a Marvel villain? Isn't that somebody Iron Man takes on? I've also been watching Marvel movies, trying to watch through all of them and the TV shows and everything. So I'm currently deep, unfortunately, in Marvel and DC at the same time, and X-Men, because I believe they're merging at the unrelated. That's just what's currently going on in this year of 2024, that I am consuming content of reading DC, Nightwing, and watching Marvel shows and movies and X-Men stuff merged in as well, because it's just, anyway. What happens here? There's the Mandarin. So that was Freddie Min. He's moving a lot of heroin. I make a note about that in here. Nightwing goes to take, that's why he's the heroin guy. So he's trying to find information. So he hits the streets and hits some drug dealers, literally breaks it up, fights, plants a bug on one of them. No one will talk. Everyone's more scared of this Freddy guy than they are scared of Nightwing, but he plants a bug so he can follow them back. And then we introduce Rango and his posse, who likewise don't want to talk at all. There's a funny moment here where they really shoot up this truck, and then Rango starts telling them to be like, stop it, that's my car. So that's a thing that happens. Grayson tries a different angle. Okay, so he's like beating, he ties up, he captures Rango after he beats up the goons. Captures Rango, ties him up, and he's on a highway. I thought this was a pole. I thought he was hanging upside down. He's literally on a highway with trucks blaring past so that he'll talk. But he, again, won't. Then Asian Crimes Task Force. This was in 2001. 2001, it usually says. September 2001. 23 years ago. Why is that separate? Why they're working again? Like, I could understand that they have different divisions for things. It seems a little offensive, maybe in the light of it at this point that they have. I get why they would have a specific division to go after the triads, which is what they talk about in here, but they literally label it just as Asian crimes. Just a note that I made of being like, huh, okay, interesting. Anyway, that's the whole point. He's going after Freddie Min, so he goes through that, but they don't even, they're corrupt. I don't know why we're still getting examples of that. I understand it at this point. Maybe they're just to refresh because it's been months since these are an issue a month with how many come out. So just to refresh everybody, the police force is crooked. So they don't even try going after the top guys. They're happy just taking down the street level because that keeps them busy and keeps them doing what, and they get paid for it. They're getting money under the table. So then he goes to this mansion and I start feeling like, wait a minute, this seems familiar. What's going on here? But then he follows this guy down into the kitchen basement of something that's going on here. And then some stuff happens. We go through. There's a twist here that I did not see coming. Yeah, he thought that they were manufacturing drugs in the kitchen lab basement thing that he never got into when he was in this place before, which I was going, when was he here? And then it all came back to me. remember the very beginning? I I think that was like one of the first issues of Nightwing proper after the miniseries. Nightwing goes and saves this Freddie Minns and his wife's kids. Madam saves the kids, but it's embryo. It's tube babies. What? I don't know of a better way to put that. Anyway, they're growing up. They've been lab grown. They're now lab grown children. Okay, what? So I forgot about that. I forgot who that name was. I forgot like the dude, that guy entirely, where he saves the tube from going over the edge on like a truck. I think it was inside of a refrigerator, if I remember correctly. And then like but the wife, as it turns out, was running everything and killed the husband. Like she just admits all of this here, so that like rather than bring children into the world, she kills the husband and threatens Nightwing that if he ever comes back, she'll kill him too. She's running the drug empire. That's the whole thing. Like what? Where did that even? Okay. And then finally 60. That I didn't think had anything to do with much of anything here, but we've had a few different storylines kind of running through this entire. Yeah. This one just looked different. The whole art style was very different, and you did have a different person, so that makes sense. Yeah. Well, that's the inker and the colorist, but welcome to Bloodhaven for the first time, Trevor McCarthy. It's just a different style. It definitely looks different and feels different, but it was cool. Don't get me wrong. He's taken down some mafia that I've never these are the Transbelvian mafia. I don't know where Transbelvia is or whatever the actual, if that's a real reference to something real world, I don't get it. If they just made it up, sure. Okay. Anyway, what else? What actually happened here? I go through all of this. He takes down that mafia. Oh, that's right. We get a bit of Nightwing so that there is Nightwing in this issue. And then it turns to Grayson, which again, that's him. That really looks like him from these other ones, doesn't it? So there he is. He has now officially gotten his police badge. He was a rookie before he didn't have it, and now he has it. So now he's officially a police officer. And there's a whole thing there with him and his superior officer, Amy, and they joke about being partners. But she outranks him, and then there's an invitation to dinner. And here's where, okay, see, this is where it starts happening in the prison. Tad starts beating. That's Tad. Remember young kid Tad? Doesn't this look like young kid Tad? I looked at that. I was like, wow, he's aged. It's just a different art style. Anyway, he's breaking the finger of a guy and bringing too much attention, so Soames has to tell him to cool it. And then it's just Nightwing, we go back. Grayson is joking with Barbara about having dinner with this lady. And it's just like an invitation to dinner at his house. And what's happening, you can already see. I couldn't see it. Thankfully, that is the one thing I like about reading it on the tablet is I just get one page at a time so I can read through. And you see it's nothing like what you're thinking or even what he was thinking. It's that she has a family and a husband and kids. And so it's just a dinner. And they just have dinner together. And then we skip forward a little bit to the next thing that happens because this is important, I think. They are working their police stuff. There's just this obnoxious lady who's parked in front of a fire hydrant. What's going on here? She doesn't want to get a ticket, so she's offering them a bribe. And then they have a conversation. And the whole thing here was spin about whether or not, and she talks about taking the bribe, but then tries to play it off as like this whole thing spins from everything I understood about Amy at this point. And I got really confused. Let's get to the end. And then, so she takes him, remember that cathedral? I'd forgotten about it by this point. This is what happens when I don't read I don't know how anyone keeps track. I am reading these over the span of about a week. It's 8 issues. I read about one a day. And so in preparation to record this, and so I'm remembering from one day to the next. I don't know how anyone has kept track of this over the course of 8 months. But remember, she went to that cathedral and talked to a guy, and then they talked about Grayson, and they talked about him being in this, and everything led me to secret underground bad guy stuff. And I thought, wait a minute, I thought Amy, what they set up in the previous arcs, was like the one good cop, and that's why Grayson is all happy to be teamed up with her, and they work together and they're all doing the good stuff, and she's the only one who's not crooked. And then she's testing him, even though I'm pretty sure that they already knew that he wasn't, or from her perspective. That was what I thought, and it really got flipped on its head there for everything. And no, they're the good guys. They are the good guys. They're the honest cops. They're the not crooked cops. And because when 90%, when everybody's crooked, they're the ones who have to operate in secret. Totally makes sense on the flip side of it. But I was very confused for a minute there of not understanding. So yeah, that's the little switcheroo that they do. And that's the end of it. Now, here's what I will say. I just lied a little bit. I didn't read every single one of these, one per day. From about, where was it? It was the Shrike, like 55 to 58, I want to say. These 4 issues, I read back to back to back. Like, I started one and I got real gripped into that. So we had a bunch of storylines here that happened, and it makes sense why some of it wasn't collected. Like 53 had nothing to do with anything in this particular arc. That was fine. Like the Selena stuff, and nothing was bad here. I enjoyed all of it. But you talk about these 4, this little arc here with this nonstop action character I didn't really know about, and then learned and thought, oh, that's interesting. And I guess I'm just a sucker for characters that can do martial arts and have blades, because that's just cool. This was really awesome. And then we tied it up with a bit of intrigue leading towards they're still pumping this prison escape that will clearly happen at some point. I know Tad's not out of the picture. Is there almost anyone out of the picture at this point? Throughout 60 issues of this, we've been doing this now for, reading for a while now, going through all that. Tad's still around. Blockbuster's obviously still around. Like, all the main players, Torque is around. All the main players are there. Maybe that's just kind of what comics did. Because if they kill off one villain, then they have to introduce another, which rather than just churning through them, they put in these little ones and you get an arc of Shrike. But then, just keep in mind, Tad's still around. Torque's still around. So yeah, I enjoyed it. This was great. I'm having a fun time. I'm glad I'm reading it. Taking me a lot longer. I'm not nearly as one a month as I thought I was going to be. I might try to push through some to catch up to that, or I might this is going to take a couple years to get through. It's not like it wouldn't have taken someone many, many years to read through all of these anyway, since this arc went from, not this arc, but the entire thing. Do I have dates on that, just out of curiosity? From 98 until 2009. So over the course of probably a year or two, we're going to read 20 years of comics. Wait, that's not 20. Yes, it is. No, wait, math. From 98, 10 years of comics. I can do math. Wait, that has nothing to do. Oh no, I'm looking at the publication dates of when they released the graphic novels. I don't actually know when it couldn't have been any less than that. I mean, it couldn't have been any more than that. Oh no, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we're reading comics. It's taking a while to get through them, but what a surprise. I do have other things going on, but I'm really enjoying getting through this. This was a great time. I enjoyed this arc, I think, more than the last one I'm trying to remember, but it was a while ago. That's what I've done. That's Nightwing Comics. See you guys next time, where I'll read, there is a collected volume for 61 through 70. So 9 issues next time. Another long video. Volume 8, Lethal Force. I think we're going to get some cop stories in this one. I think we're going to get more of Grayson being a cop with Amy and them trying to do the right thing on the good side. But I have a feeling we might, just as a speculation, get some Nightwing doing his own way on what the police can't go take care of. All right. 8 episodes down, 60 issues. See you guys next time.